What is up, everyone? It is top 5 new brews, deck number 2, going up to the top 1 deck pretty soon. This is Red Green Delirium. It's a deck based on a lot of value, a little bit of self-milling to trigger your Delirium, and then you get even more value after that. It's also Gruul colors, so you know it's going to be big creatures, aggressive decks, things like that. So let's take a look. So in the 1-drop slot, we have the All-Star card, Teething Wormlet, a 1/1 that gets bigger whenever you play artifacts or whenever artifacts enter the battlefield. And it also gains you some life, which is another boon, you know, just helping you with the mono red matchup. As far as our mill goes, we have Patchwork Beastie, a 1-mana 3/3. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may mill a card. And then if you have Delirium, this can attack or block. So before Delirium, it's kind of like an artifact that's just milling you a card each turn. So which is not that great, but it's like an impending clock because you know, this deck is designed to get Delirium as fast as possible, and so we're planning to get it, you know, turn 2 or 3. And they make it really easy with Duskmourn because a lot of cards have multiple types, which makes the Delirium that much easier. All right, so the other 1-drop we have is Seed of Hope. It's a green, mill 2 cards, and then you put a permanent from the milled cards into your hands. When you cast this, oh, and you gain 2 life on top of that, which is good again for aggro decks. So you mill 2 cards. You're gonna put one of them into your hand. This is also an instant, so an instant is going into your graveyard, and another card is going to your graveyard, and then you get a permanent card back. So let's say you play the Beastie. Oh, well, I mean, maybe the ideal hand would be you have a Wormlet, a Seed of Hope, and a Beastie in your hand. You play the Wormlet, turn 2, you play the Beastie, you cast Seed of Hope, and then you're going to have already 2 parts of your Delirium in the graveyard, and your Beastie is going to start each upkeep putting a card in, so you're pretty close to Delirium already, and your Wormlet is growing bigger and bigger for each artifact, because the Beastie is an artifact. Alright, and then, so for the 2-mana slot, we have more really good Delirium cards. The Beastie Beatdown goes with our 1-mana Beastie. It's red and a green. Choose target creature an opponent control. Choose target creature you control and target creature your opponent controls. If you have Delirium, then put 2 +1/+1 counters on the target creature you control. Then the creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature opponent controls. So this one, why are we playing this? Well, first of all, I mean, with the Delirium effect, you're going to pump your creature, which is really nice, and you're going to remove something. The fact that we have a 1-mana 3/3 means that even though it's not attacking or blocking, we can still use it to do the beatdown pretty easily. It's going to, you know, 3 damage. It's going to kill most of the things in standard, except for like Shieldred. And yeah, if you get the +2/+1, +2, you know, +2 +1/+1 counters, then you're going to be very happy. Just on top of that, you'll have a giant 5/5 basically. All right, other Delirium cards, we got Fear of Missing Out. Whenever it enters, sorry, it's a 1 and a red for a 2/3. Whenever it enters, discard a card, then draw a card. So if you have nothing in your hand, you just draw a card, right? That's the one advantage of the red wording on their discard effects. And then if you have Delirium, whenever Fear of Missing Out attacks for the first time each turn, if there are 4 or more other types in your graveyard, untap target creature, and you get an additional combat phase. So it's a little bit of a maybe a Christmas Land, Dreamland, you know, situation where I mean, we're gonna have the Delirium at some point, but you have to have this come down. The next turn, it has to not get killed, and it has to swing in. If that happens, then you'll get an extra combat phase for one of your creatures. It's not a legendary as well, so potentially you could have a couple of these, you know, and have the effect trigger multiple times, which would be pretty sick, to be honest. But I think you're going to be pretty lucky if the opponent doesn't kill this creature. It's kind of like they need to remove it, right? So you don't get the extra combat phase. But just by itself, 2 mana, 2/3 that discards and draws, pretty solid. It helps trigger your Delirium because you're discarding something. So you're going to want to discard maybe a land or maybe an enchantment or something like that so you can get your final Delirium piece triggering. All right, and then we're running Invasion of Urgamon. This is a battle, so that's another thing for Delirium. I considered having more of these because it fits pretty well in the deck. So maybe after testing it a bit, if it performs well, I would go up to 2 or maybe 3 at most. But having a battle makes your Delirium easier to trigger. The battle itself creates a treasure, which is an artifact, and triggers your Wormlet. It's also, it does a discard and draw effect, so you can help trigger your Delirium for that again. And then if you manage to somehow flip it, you know, you may not, but you get a pretty decent creature, a 3/4 with trample that again lets you discard and search your library. So it's pretty good triggering our Delirium even without the flipping to the creature side, but if you get the creature, it's kind of a bonus cherry on top. And then we have a Surginger here, another key part of like the artifact Teething Wormlet deck, because whenever you sacrifice an artifact, it's going to get bigger. It's also an artifact itself. So Wormlet into Surginger, that triggers your Wormlet. And we get the treasure from the Invasion of Urgamon. If we sack that, it's going to make our Ginger bigger. You know, if they kill our Beastie or something like that, it's going to make our Ginger bigger. So, you know, there's also other artifacts in the deck that would make it bigger. But either way, 2 mana, 3/1, that's an artifact triggering our Wormlet is still pretty good just by itself. And then the final 2-drop is Wildfire Wickerfolk. It's another new card, green and a red, an artifact creature. It's a 3/2 with haste. So 2 mana, 3/2 with haste. That's already pretty good. Maybe not seeable, maybe not playable by itself, though with artifact type, that might make it worth playing. And again, it triggers the Wormlet because it's an artifact, and it's if it goes to the graveyard, counts as, you know, 2 of our Delirium, 2 out of the 4 because it's artifact creature. And then it says if you have Delirium, it gets +1/+1 and trample. So once you achieve your Delirium, maybe on turn 3, then this thing is going to be a 4/3 with trample. And any subsequent one of these you draw in the future will be a 4/3 with trample and haste, right? So it's just, it becomes kind of like an early game card into a mid-range card for still only 2 mana. All right, it doesn't stop there. We got some 3-drops and a couple 4-drops. So on the 3-drops, we have Omnivorous Flytrap, 2 and a green. Whenever this enters or attacks, if there are 4 more card types in your graveyard, distribute 2 +1/+1 counters among 2 creatures you control. So enters or attacks, so you get potentially both of those for, you know, already a good creature, a 3 mana 2/4. And then if there are 6 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, you double the number of +1/+1 counters on those creatures. So probably when it enters, you're likely to maybe have Delirium, and then when you attack, if you're lucky, you'll have the 6 or more types. So we do have 6 types in the deck. You know, we have Artifact Creature, that's 2. We have Instant, 3. We have Sorcery with the Beatdown, that's 4. We have Enchantment, 5. And we have Siege, 6. And you'll see we even have 1 Planeswalker, which is 7. And then lands is 8. So we have 8 different, I think that's actually all of the types that are possible. We have 8. Maybe I'm forgetting something. No, I don't think so. I think it's all the possible types. So there's 8 different types we have. There's, you know, the battle and the planeswalkers are less likely for you to have. So you'll probably need to try to get the artifact, enchantment, creature, instant, sorcery, and land to get your 6 types in there. All right, so let's keep going. Let's keep going. So that's a really good 3-drop we got for Delirium. I'm running Sentinel of the Nameless City. It's another solid card that's in the Teething Wormlet decks typically. 3 mana, 3/4 with Vigilance that creates artifact tokens. The artifact tokens help you get your lands. They also make your creatures bigger. They trigger your Teething Wormlet. They trigger your Sir Ginger when you sack them. So all of that's pretty good. Even the map token can even put stuff in your graveyard. So you can get your Delirium from that. So it just kind of fits pretty well all around with theme of the deck. And then we have 1 Ren and Realmbreaker. Again, I kind of wanted to put 2 in here. Just deck restrictions didn't let me do it so well. But this is a 3 mana Planeswalker that can turn your lands into creatures, and it also can mill you and get back a permanent. And then it has an ultimate, which you'll never trigger basically. But the milling helps you with the Delirium and getting some permanent back. You can get something good like your Flytrap back. Finally, in the 4-drop slot, we're trying this out. It may not be worth it, but I wanted another enchantment creature because we only have this one Fear of Missing Out as our enchantment of choice. So I felt like it'd be better to have 6 to make it a little bit more consistent. So I'm trying out Enduring Courage, 2 in a red for a 3/3 that is has the effect whenever another creature enters, it gets +2, +0, and haste. So you could play that on 4, potentially play either Sentinel or Flytrap. You're giving it +2 in haste. It's swinging in as a big creature. It also gets the attack trigger ability, which is very nice. I mean, that's what you want. You want the attack triggers to get the extra effects. And then, if it creates the artifact, it's going to trigger your Wormlet or things like that. So that's also a big benefit for that. Yeah, and then if it dies, it becomes an enchantment. So it will keep giving your creatures haste and +2 for pretty much ever. So that's also pretty good. But it is 4 mana, so if your curve is not great or you don't think you're going to get to the 4 mana very easily, you can discard it with things like Fear of Missing Out or your Invasion of Urgamon or things like that. Or maybe you'll mill it with your Seed of Hope or your Beastie or something like that, and you won't feel too bad about it. All right, so that's it for the cards in the deck. We have lands, of course. We have 2 Valgavoth's Lair enchantment lands, so we can again discard this or mill this, and gets us another one of our Delirium types. Maybe we'd want to go to 4. I didn't. Yeah, I mean, you might actually. I was thinking we didn't want too many tap lands in the deck, but it gives you Delirium, so it definitely might be worth doing. And then we have the Surveil, a couple of the Surveil lands. Again, I didn't want to put too many, so maybe whichever one of these turns out better, you go with that. But Surveil can help you get your Delirium, and the Fabled Passage helps you get your Delirium. And then we have the new Verge lands to help with our mana. And yeah, that's about it. So looks pretty promising. Early game, you got some pretty decent creatures that are going to be annoying for the opponent to deal with. They might need to remove them. And then, as they remove them, they're actually helping you get your Delirium, making your other creatures even better later on. So very cool stuff. And looks powerful to me. And we'll just have to tweak it a little bit as we go along. But yeah, looks pretty exciting. So that's it for the red-green Delirium deck. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you can try it out when the new set comes out. And until next time, have a blessed day and see ya.